It's the last thing any of us ever want to think about. But there is always a non-zero chance of crashing anytime you go out on a ride. And if you do go down, you want every advantage available to you. Andrew Richardson has thought about motorcycle crashes probably more than any of us, and he was doing it even before he started riding. After all, he helped develop the Real Rider app, which uses automatic crash detection to contact emergency services in the event that you're not able to. While Andrew hasn't been a lifelong rider, he's more than made up for it in miles, taking just about every weekend opportunity he can to hit the northern English hills near his home. Unfortunately for him, but fortunately for Real Rider, Andrew actually did have a crash on his BMW during a chilly English afternoon. Thankfully, he only ended up a little bruised and battered with a sheared off side mirror, but his accident did trigger the app, proving to him firsthand that, well, it really does work. And when you're by yourself, nobody knows you've had a crash, and you can't call for help yourself, thanks in large part to Andrew's work, Real Rider does it for you. This is Andrew Richardson. I'm your host, Mark Long, and you're listening to Driven to Ride. All right, Andrew Richardson, you are on Driven to Ride. Thank you for being here.
Not a problem. Thank you for inviting me, Mark. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. So your background kind of gives it away, but I'll start with what maybe do people most know you for, or what's your kind of claim to fame in your own words?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one because, I've been sort of the face of Real Rider now for over a decade. And when you launch a product, you go to the big bike shows and, people kind of know you from that. And I was always known as Mr. Real Rider, which is a real cliche. It's like awful, because at the time I actually wasn't riding a motorcycle, which was very naughty. But I kind of knew enough about what we've been doing in safety and stuff for a long, long time. So
Sure.
everybody assumed I rode a motorcycle. But just the face of the product of the brand really. And it's because I say we've been around for quite a long time, but that's probably my claim to fame. I can't really think of many other things, but that's probably about it.
Cool. Well, that's a great start. You're doing yeoman's work for the motorcycle community through Real Rider. So before we get to you, can we get just the quick and dirty on what Real Rider is?
Yeah. So Real Safe Technology is the parent company, which we're a public safety company which deals with developing and maintaining software. Mainly for motorcycles, but we do work within the car sector. And Real Rider is our kind of halo product, the product that's been around for a long time. And it's a motorcycle-based app crash detection system. What's unique about us, why we've been around for so long, is that we were the first automated crash detection service to plug directly into the emergency services.
Wow.
Which we've been doing now for over a decade, which we're still the only company, certainly for motorcycle, that's permitted to connect directly to the 999 servicing in the UK, but also to North America, Europe, Australia, and other countries. So effectively, it's a impact detection. And the kind of really unique thing about us is we always spend loads of time on validating the crash, which is quite important because I've had various products that have had these things built into them, and they tend to go off when I don't want them to go off. So,
sure, yeah, false positive, yeah,
exactly. And I think that's where we've been very, very different. But we record our journeys. We have a system called group riding, which is it's pretty good for us when we're all meeting up, or if we're on a tour somewhere and someone takes the wrong turn. At least we can all stay on the map. But primarily, we're a safety-driven service using the technology within the smartphone, which is easily interchangeable. Obviously, you don't have to buy any expensive hardware.
Right.
We're the first to do it, and still the first to connect into the emergency services.
Nice. Well, we'll dive into Real Rider in a little bit, but we got to take a couple of steps back.
Yes.
When you were developing this, you said you didn't ride a motorcycle at the time. So then how did you get into motorcycling? Because you're an avid rider now. So
yeah, well, as always growing up, it was the trials bikes. I wasn't allowed to have a motorcycle, which was really annoying. They would let me have flying lessons. Right. Great.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I want to ride a motorcycle. So I wasn't allowed, which is very frustrating. But I think it's probably over a decade, 2 decades ago now, we were heavily involved in safety services. We had a company that was developing initiatives to a motorcycle was one major part of it, but there was lots of things. And we got involved in this project. We developed this project called Handle It or Lose It, which primarily was about giving riders the kind of skills to see the bend before they physically hit the bend. So it was a public engagement program, but we had a rider development part of it as well, which the off-duty police ran. And it was basically taking guys on sports bikes who were coming into one of the counties near us and crashing because they didn't know the roads. And that's kind of where my sort of love for and appreciation for motorcycling really accelerated, to the point where I was like, I want to get one. But I had two very, very young children at the time that I was responsible for. So the kind of inner me wanting to ride a motorcycle was kind of, I can't do that because I've got to be a responsible adult. And
sure.
So it wasn't because I didn't want to ride. It was because it wasn't appropriate at the time to do it for family reasons. But having been around the motorcycling arena for so long, and I think getting involved in certainly making some of the films that we made, it really gives me a lot of knowledge around reading the road and, not so much the machine control, because I wasn't obviously a rider, but I had a lot of knowledge from an advanced perspective, so that when I finally took the leap and got on a motorcycle, a lot of that came naturally.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I just needed some time on the bike. So it was one of those things where everybody just assumed, oh, what do you ride? Well, I'm in between bikes at the moment.
Good answer. I like that. Yeah,
I knew my craft, and we were winning awards. We were doing things. Really, this was before Facebook came out. This was like 2002, 2003. We were doing things with web, with getting guys to share their pants filling moments. I mean, the things we did. We had a 40-foot inflatable biker Bob that had a pair of pants over his leathers, and we were giving away pants that had flybytheseatairpants.com on the back, handleitloseit.com, and it was really, because nobody really knew who was behind it, and it was so garish. We had like an R1 and a ZX10R, which at the time were the sports bikes, and we had them all branded up and that. And people were like, "What? Who are you guys?" But we were talking to them about the common mistakes that are made. Certainly, so much of the junctions, but at the 10 or left and right hand bends, where riders just don't even see the signs because they're obviously giving it some. And it was very much about how we were helping those guys to get the skills to then enjoy the corner rather than break, and right. It kind of, that's where a lot of people knew me from as well, from getting into motorcycling in the early days, really. It was great, but everybody around me was riding bikes and I wasn't.
Yeah.
Just really frustrating, really.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like interesting too, because like you said, you came in with kind of all the safety perspectives and the safety knowledge and stuff in mind first. So you think that helped when you jumped on the bike, or was it were you a little more, maybe had a little more trepidation at the start?
I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie, so it really didn't. I was aware of my vulnerability, I suppose, from having done the studies, and obviously when we started looking into making the films for the Highways Agency, the web thing was very, very successful. But we met somebody who was a bit of a maverick in the Highways Agency in the UK, who, having engineered as much as they could on the road network, wanted to do some more kind of education. And it was a natural, we were looking, using photography at the time, and the kind of natural step forward was to go and make some films and to kind of film this from helicopters, get the guys to really do the kind of commentary rides. So from the perspective of the guy, Glenn Julian at the time, who was an extremely advanced, very, very capable rider. It was his view as an instructor on how to, get around bends and all those kind of things. So I had all of that kind of knowledge, and it just excited me more. But also having an appreciation that if you don't take it seriously, not to take it seriously, but if you don't get the skills, if you don't develop your riding, how can I how can I not then go and do my advanced riding if we're talking about advanced skills? So for me, the natural step, literally I just passed my test, I went and straight away and did my advanced riding, because it was the natural thing to do. I wanted to, get the skills, so that at least as I was starting to get time on the bike, I was applying those skills. And yeah, I was, I went straight into my first bike was the R1200 RS, which,
oh wow, yeah,
yeah, you know what I mean. It was like, well, if I'm going to do it properly. So that was my first owned bike. BMW had given us an F800 GS for 6 months, because we had a big partnership with BMW back in the day. So I kind of passed my test in the winter. What a great time to ride!
Oh, right, jeez, yeah,
slipping all over the place. It was great. Straight onto the GS. I had that for 6 months. Did about 8,000 miles in 6 months. Just went everywhere on it. And then I didn't ride from I think it was the October until the February, when I bought the R1200, and that was just, yeah, you knew you were going to have to really develop some skill to control it. But I wasn't fearful. I was just dead excited to apply what I'd learned into, getting to know the machine and getting to know what I could do as a rider. Fortunately, I had people around me who are still like lifelong friends now, who took me out, and I learned a lot from them, and they're all experienced advanced riders. And they used to take the mick when I came around a bend and was over the double whites, because there's a lot to take in, when you jump onto a bike. It sometimes it takes a bit of time to get used to it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like taming the beast, especially if you've got a 1200cc bike underneath you.
And commuting to work every day. So I went straight from getting to this bike and doing an 80-mile round trip every day, like literally all year round. The only time I wouldn't ride would be in the snow.
Sure.
And living in northern England, we wasn't the best of weathers, but I learned a lot again about machine control. And yes, the traction control and things were there. I do remember one morning it was dark, and there was a country road I used to go up to get to one of the big motorways. And I think there'd been some mud on the road. And as I remember coming around the bend, and I'm looking and thinking, why is my back end going that way?
It's not the way it's supposed to go.
And the lights were all lighting up on the dashboard. I was like, okay. So that was quite interesting. But it was just for me, just throwing myself into it, embracing it, and learning the craft, and learning from others as well. And well, that's sometimes it's a good thing and a bad thing, isn't it? People learn from other people and they sometimes pick up their bad habits. Fortunately, I was riding with people who enjoyed, making progress, as we call it here, but also was very respectful of getting the skills and kind of honing those skills, and for me being the best rider I could be, and being quite respectful of the bike. Well,
and yeah, you mentioned you're in northern England, so you're not really anywhere near London. I think most people would think like you're doing urban or city driving, but are you really kind of more rural riding, or like what's unique about kind of that northern England landscape in terms of motorcycling?
Yeah, we're blessed. We have some of arguably some of the best roads, certainly in England, because we're based in the northeast, which is near the coast. However, I can ride within half an hour, 45 minutes in any direction and have some of the best roads. I mean, North Yorkshire's on my doorstep, and then they've got the Yorkshire Dales, we've got the Pennines. So we tend to get up early. It's a nice one Sunday, because Sunday we'll get up really, really early, so we'll leave at 7:30. We're out, and we've done most of it before everybody else goes out. So when we're coming back, everyone's going out. So the roads are pretty quiet. But we go up and we ride somewhere up in, it's called Alston, which is up the Pennines, and there's a road that goes down from Hartside to Melnbury. It's pretty hair-raising if you don't know it, because you've got hairpins, it's quite steep. So going down, I like it going down, but the engine braking on the RS is pretty good, but you've really got to think about, knowing where the bends are.
And you're warming the brakes up a fair amount.
Yeah. So you tend to, it's an interesting ride going down, And I managed to get my first 46-degree angle going around the left-hand bend, which I thought, any minute now, my centre stand's going to, because I know I've gone over as far as I can because my centre stand starts digging in. But
right.
But you get to the bottom, and coming back up is, again, it's a totally different experience because you are on the power, but you're also rolling off and pulling the bike round. And we just go up and down. We just we go up and down, go up and down. We have the cameras running, and that's a really good one for us when we haven't ridden as much. Certainly this winter it's been a really bad winter, so we haven't ridden as much as we would normally do. So the first thing we did when it started drying up and the salt had gone, because this is quite high up, so obviously there's still a lot of snow. So we get up there and we just go up and down, and it really helps to get you back in the swing of it, and it's great. So we have that. We have the Dales are incredible. We don't do as much into Scotland because it's just that little bit. I mean, the Scottish borders are in easy reach, but
sure,
if you're going to go up to Scotland, you want to then go and spend some time and spend some days. And we are going up to Auburn in a few weeks' time. The group, all the guys, the Real Rider guys, which I'll talk about later. We're going up and spending a Friday till sort of Sunday tea time, riding Glencoe, some of the Highlands and
nice.
The Isle of Skye. But yeah, getting back to where we live. The roads are just, and we tend to go for the roads that not many people go.
Sure.
We tend to find the more sort of back roads where you can probably have a bit more fun and probably a little bit more challenging. But yeah, it's very, very lucky, Mark. We're very lucky where we live.
Yeah, I mean, at least from my limited U.S. perspective, I don't want to speak for all of the U.S., but I think a lot of people from here think that England is just London and then like farm field and then flat and nothing else, like here in the Midwest or whatever. But I mean, you guys have a lot of elevation. You guys have, I mean, I've just seen some pictures of some of the most beautiful landscape. You talked about the Midlands, the Scottish Highlands, all that kind of stuff. You guys have like real elevation and, you combine that with tight turns and hairpins and stuff. I mean, you're really utilizing all of your skills and the motorcycle almost to their fullest potential, if not to their fullest potential. So I think not easy riding.
No, I think you're right, and I think that's what really helps with your skills development as well. As that, and for me, the way I approach it is I want to be the best rider I can be,
for sure,
and it is about going on those roads that do challenge you, but also being respectful again of the bike and my own ability, which we'll talk about my crash, but there you go. But given the 100 and I think it's probably how much, about 115,000 miles now since 2015. I think when I passed, so I've done a lot of miles, and the probability, particularly when you're commuting to work and back on a motorcycle, the probability is I think it's like you're 50% more likely to be involved in a crash if you commute to work. Add that factor of a motorcycle into that. But a lot of what I learned from doing the advanced is just looking way ahead, anticipating, looking at the alloys of the cars pulling out, and pretending or thinking that everyone's trying to kill you is always a good mindset when you're on a motorcycle. But to be honest, it's a bit challenging in the sense that you're always looking for what's going on. And I think as long as from my perspective, as long as I'm doing that, I'm hopefully, trying to anticipate what people might be doing if they haven't seen me. Other than coming around a blind bend and there being a deer on the road or something, which, what can you do?
Yeah. There's just only, you're just kind of rolling the dice at that point or whatever. Yeah. So, well, you mentioned it. Can you share, you have gone down on a bike. Can you share that story?
Yeah, it was one of those. We've been up walking in the hills again because we're quite blessed with some great walks, and it was a Sunday. It was February. I got home. My son rides. Arguably, he'll say he rides better than me because I think it's because he's younger, and he's got an F900 XR, which is a great bike for him. He's like 6'4". So he needed a bigger bike. So I was out with him, and I was out with Dean, who's married my sort of stepdaughter. And at the time he was riding, and they've been saying, "Are you coming out? Oh, are you coming out?" I was like, I don't really want to, but I'll go out. So really, should I have gone out that afternoon? Probably not. But so we went out, and we were coming back along one of the roads that we do quite a lot. And I just wanted to get home, Mark. I was like, I'm tired. It was cold. I was like, not really enjoying this.
Yeah, not in the mindset. Yeah.
No, and the particular road that it happened on is it's not a very wide road. And you use the cross views and things, and this particular corner, you can't really. The hedge is so thick, even though it was February and there wasn't. But this particular hedge is quite thick, so I couldn't see what was coming around. And I tend to always take a kind of wide line anyway to see around the corner, and
Sure.
that particular day I wasn't, and that's when, as I was coming around the corner, there was a car hurtling towards me, and it's weird, is it? Because you always like don't look at something that's there because you'll hit it.
Target fixation.
So I was always taught to look for your exit, and I just looked and I saw the embankment. Oh, right, I'm just going to have to, and I hurtled down to this embankment, went in and I slammed into the ground, and I was in water. There was steam everywhere, and I was off the pipes, obviously. And I was laid there, just thinking to myself, what have you done? And we're all on comms, and I heard them come around the corner. Oh, Dad, what are you? And I was kind of laid there a little bit dazed. And the first thing you think is, have I broken anything? How's the bag?
Right.
But no, I was all right. I was just a bit dazed, and I was probably in a bit of shock, to be fair.
Sure.
So I was laid there, pulled my visor open, and then I hear our technology, which obviously, because I'd slammed into the ground, what it does is it activates, so it knows there's been a trigger, but then it waits, and it waits for a period of time to allow the crash to finish kind of happening. We did base it, when we think all the way back to sort of 2010, 11, when we started developing this, and over the years, we looked at the science behind crashing. And I remember the Connor Cummings crash of the TT, which was some years ago, and seeing him come around a corner, and the tires just went from under him, and his bike goes off the side of the mountain, and it took about 6-point-something seconds for him to finish, and the bike to finish crashing. If you see that, him tumbling, it was a horrific crash to see. And that always stuck in my mind of like, that's the kind of crash that our technology is really designed for, is that you're by yourself, you leave the road, nobody knows that you've had a crash. So we have this period of time where we wait for the crash to kind of stop happening. And then the system starts analyzing what's going on with the phone. Are you walking around? Are you still riding? And those kind of things.
It sounds like you're using like the accelerometers and like the gyros and GPS, like kind of everything that's baked into a phone. You kind of utilize.
Yeah, we did a lot of maths. We did a lot of testing. We used their Nissan test track back in the days, and we looked at, because the thing about impact detection, there's lots of things out there now that kind of do this, and the thing about finding the sweet spot that is, it's not overly sensitive, but it's also not the point where it's going to miss something. That finding that sweet spot is really, really quite a challenge. And impact detection and using accelerometers is one thing. For us, it's what we do afterwards in terms of how we validate that. Because if we're going to package up the data and send your location, your medical information, all those kind of things to the nearest ambulance service as quick as we can, we want to be able to have validated that as close as we can to expecting that this is probably a genuine crash. So I'm laid there, and I hear this thing saying crash detected, crash alert will be sent, and I'm like, I was like, whoa, and it was because I was surprised, Mark. Although I know, having done the test and having ridden with it, it was the first time I was laid there with it going off.
Yeah, you're in it. Yeah,
it was one of those wow moments that, bloody hell, it works.
Thank God, right?
Yeah, of course I know it works. But you're laid there, and I looked at the watch because I had the latest Apple Watch, and the notification was coming through that for it as well. And I had the latest iPhone as well in my pocket. Fortunately for me, the first thing I did is I took a selfie. As you do. Like, wow, look at this.
Yeah, right.
Wing mirror had been like sheared off, and I wasn't really particularly that bothered at the particular time, but I was taking pictures thinking, this is just incredible. And my son and Dean were laughing because of, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? You've just crashed. I know, but look. And it was one of those, like, what could I have, straight away, what could I have done different? The guy in the car got out and came over and says, I didn't see it. I said, look, I think it was one of those very, very badly timed. He was there, I was there, and unfortunately, I was able to react quick enough. I wasn't going fast as well, which was probably good. And then it was about getting the bike out of the ditch, and and I remember looking down, and it was in fourth gear, and I was looking down. They were trying to push it out, and I didn't have the heart to say to them, "You need to pull the clutch in, otherwise that bike's going nowhere." And I had to tell them, and we got it out, and I had to ride home. Unfortunately, I was, it was mud everywhere, and I was wet and this kind of thing. But I was okay, Mark. I was buzzing because my chairman always says to me, right, well, if you're gonna crash, have a crash so an ambulance can come and pick you up. I don't want to crash because it hurts. You know what I mean?
If you're going to crash right, I guess. Let's fully test this. Yeah, test this out.
Exactly. And last thing I wanted to do was actually crash, but I had to ride it home without the wing mirror, which was the most weird thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're
just used to looking and you don't see. Yeah.
I know. And we had a bit of a laugh because we were going in the corner and my son was going, right, watch out, there's a car coming, Dad. Can you see the car? I was like, yeah, all right. And I remember getting home and like, it's just like, I need to go and get in the bath because I'd started to ache at that point. And I mean,
the adrenaline's wearing off and everything. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, bless them, they've washed the bike for us. But you just reflect. You just think, right, what could I have done differently? Well, it was one of those moments where I didn't do anything wrong other than probably maybe not going out that day. But if I'm going to get asked to go out, I'll go out. But unfortunately, you kind of look at that, and so I was like, fair enough. And I think at that point it had 70,000 miles on it, and I was like, I don't know whether I really want to ride it again. And so I'd ordered a new wing mirror, and which I picked up the following weekend. And Stephen Brown from Virtue BMW is brilliant. He always looks after us, and he says, while I'm getting your mirror, do you want to go and sit on the new one round the corner? Because obviously I got this 2016, and I walked around and sat on this new one, and my wife was with me. She said, "It's about time, isn't it?" I was like,
"Oh wow, yeah, say no more."
Exactly. That was permission to yes, you can. So I took my bike in on the Monday, valued it, and 15 minutes later, I'm shaking his hand, and I've got the new RS, which is pictured in the little background there. And what was nice about getting on that was that it was all of the development and all the new stuff like the shift cam, the heated seats, heated sat nav, and all the kind of cruise control, which I hadn't had on the old one.
Sure.
And it was all of the refinements that they've been doing. So it was like it felt familiar when I picked it up, but it was like new and shiny. And and people were saying to me, well, why didn't you try something else? Yeah, but I like it. I like it because I can tour on it, I can commute on it, I can have it as a sports tour. I can do what I want on it, really. And not a lot of people have had the RS. It's one of those kind of parts of the range where they either go your GS or you go your sports, and it's kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
And I really, when I got it, it fulfilled what I needed in terms of, being able to ride long distances on it.
It ticks all the boxes. Yeah.
Well, exactly. So I think for me, it was right. Yep, I've done that. Okay, I've had my first crash. Ironically, thinking about it afterwards, I did a bit of a kind of blog on this when I reflected on the crash, and the technology that we've developed from a long time ago before anybody else did this. I often forget how far back we went. We were doing this when smartphones really only just come out. So we've been doing this for quite a long time. But the expectation of the technology that I had on me didn't go off, was a kind of, it's kind of positioned as this kind of stuff that does, and didn't. And that really hit it home to us in terms of why we've developed it for so long. We've played around with the algorithms and that really sweet spot of making sure that it's not overly sensitive.
Right.
But it's going to, the thing that we're protecting against, people always ask me, and you can look at the Connor Cummings TT crash, we're protecting against those higher speed impacts that are going to do the damage and are going to render somebody not able to call for help. That was the one reason why, when we made those films for the Highways Agents all those years ago, before smartphones came out, the paramedics from the Northeast Ambulance Service and the air ambulance were doing part of the film with us. And I remember the paramedic and the pilot saying, we'll normally get a call, someone's had a crash, done normally on the Helmsley TT. They'll land a helicopter where somebody's seen the bike and rang 999, but then they have to find the rider. And a lot of the times, when I think BMW and Bosch did some studies into this, and they got the sweet spot around 90% of riders will be thrown from the motorcycle. It's physics at the end of the day.
Right.
They were looking for riders that had been thrown some considerable distance and were unresponsive, unconscious. And you sat there listening to this and think, but what do you do? Well, we'll scramble the police helicopter with thermal imaging and all the kind, having been in safety and having been working in that kind of sector for so long, getting somebody the help quickly is what it's all about. And I think that really hit home that there's got to be a solution. And that really was the pivotal moment for us to kind of think about the technology and start that journey. But I think what we did differently is we went straight back to the Great North Air Ambulance guys and then obviously the Northeast Ambulance Service that we built it with and said, we can do this and we can give you that, but is it enough? Is it too much? And I remember the pilot saying to me, because back then you had your phone on your person, there was none of the, if you had a sat nav, it was a piece of hardware. Yeah. Exactly, so it was all around. You've got your phone on you. The pilot needs to land where you are. The paramedic wants to find you. So it was very much about what we protecting against, a higher speed impact where you've been thrown, potentially nobody knows where you are, and how can we get the information from the phone, how can we get that into the nearest ambulance service as quickly as possible? And that was our challenge at the time. And that's, when you talk about or think about the kind of technology we had to develop, and then we had to develop, we've got like what's called an international emergency alerting framework, which is a cloud-hosted framework. And it is milliseconds in terms of how quick the data gets into certainly the BT system or into 911 in North America. Because our job is, has there been an impact? Yes. Is the rider moving? No. We set off an alarm for the rider to cancel it. If there's no input at that point, we're 99% sure that the rider needs help. And then it's about the data we package together. And then it's our responsibility to get it to the nearest ambulance service as quickly as possible. Our job is done. And when I think about it, when we talk about it, I still think it's pretty clever what we do. Because of all the elements that we put together. It's not just about something going, I think you've had an impact. It's all the other elements that fit together to make sure that the pilot, if you like, or the paramedic knows exactly where he's going to land the helicopter. The paramedic knows everything that he needs to know about you, including medical information. So we've done our job, they can do their job, and that's what the relationship with emergency services is so sweet in terms of what we do. And we've won awards. I remember we won an Edison Award. We won. That was brilliant. That was a great trip to New York. We won the European Satellite Navigation Competition. We won that a few years ago, just because of our use of downstream satellite data. Lots of companies in the space sector, it's all about getting stuff up there. We're about how can we use the data to really understand where somebody is and how can we improve the accuracy and all those kind of things. So, it's there's a lot of science behind it, but and there's a lot of things that we have to maintain as a kind of overall architecture and infrastructure to enable our systems to work. And it does when I talk about it, because I don't really talk about that much. It's weird, like, when you said to come in and do it, I'm like, I do love talking about it because I forget what we've done and the journey that we've taken. And I think when I was laid there in the ditch, it was like, okay, I get it now.
It's like one of those things. Like the average person probably doesn't think about all the back end stuff that actually goes into this and all the synchronization of all these different technologies. But really the end result is that, if you do go down and you're by yourself and you're somewhere unfamiliar, that the work is kind of done for you. And like you said, the timing is really everything. The faster that, ambulance service can get to somebody, the faster or the better their chances of getting a full recovery or surviving. I mean, when it comes down to it, really.
Well, I think the fastest that we've heard. So I just the guy in Australia, blood bike in Australia, who used our technology one of his first runs to the hospital, and he
Hmm.
had an off, quite a nasty off, and I was told an ambulance was there within 15 minutes, which, given the size of Australia, I was quite impressed with. But I think he obviously wasn't out. He wasn't out in the outback, and you only hear stories like that. And the guy I ride with had a nasty crash last September as well, which was again quite a frightening experience to be riding with him and seeing him
Oh,
crash.
sure.
But again, doing the technology doing its job but it's quite a rare thing because you're protecting against that one scenario that you just, if you do all the things that you do right in terms of seeing the bend and everything else, then really our technology is kind of a little bit of it's a bit of peace of mind, when you're out and about. It's when it goes off and when it gets the help that people need is where we really kind of appreciate it.
Yeah, well, let's talk about kind of the front end part of it. Can you walk us through like how the average person would use it, like on a ride?
Yeah, so I mean, for us, it's all about what we do when we get ready to go out and ride a motorcycle, and invariably we've got people coming from different places to meet up. So it's as simple as open up the app. Once you've set it up, once you've subscribed to the crash detection, which is a premium service, you have to go through adding your medical information, your bike details. Once that's done, you literally just open up the app, hit record, and the Real Rider SOS, which is the safety element, it just turns on. And we have two options. One of the things was catering for the blood bike community who didn't really want to record the journey. Was we just have a simple toggle for SOS, so you can turn it on or turn it off.
Okay.
So for those guys, they can just turn SOS on, lock the phone, put the phone somewhere, and then go and do a 12-hour shift. And it's minimal impact on battery because it's not recording anything. It's monitoring. We spent quite a lot of time on something called auto pause, which is the system automatically pausing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see it; it's running in the background, so that when you come to stop for a coffee, if you drop your phone, it won't go off. I mean, I could activate my phone now and turn the system on, throw it on the floor, and it won't go off because it knows I'm not riding.
Okay,
so that was
you're not like at speed kind of thing.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
And the threshold that we use, we look at the GPS and we read the GPS point because every GPS point will give you a speed. So we use that as every single GPS point is determining what speed you're going. And we just use that to automate the system to monitor the phone now or pause monitoring so that you don't accidentally trigger it. There are edge cases where you've maybe hit a pothole and then you've stopped and the system might trigger, but that's why we have a cancel button on it. Or if you ride off and it knows you're moving, it'll automatically reset. So it's quite an easy system to use. The way that we use it, turn it on, it's recording my route, and then we normally turn group ride on. We have I have a number of different groups set up on there. Once I turn it on, everybody gets a notification, and then we all appear on the map while riding.
Oh, cool!
Relative to our location.
Yeah,
which is great. Which is great when you're coming back from Wales, and one of the riders, Martin. Someone mentioned Liverpool, and when he was coming up the N6, and he just went. I was like, "Where are you going?"
Hey, man!
And you could see him on the map, and the map was like showing him off to Liverpool. I don't know if anybody wanted to go home or not, but he then managed to turn around. But he knew where we were, and one of the guys comes down from the lakes, Gary, and it's great because you can see whenever he sets off. Obviously, the map shows where everybody is. And as we get closer to each other, and it's just this. It's about, I think for us, it's about creating features that we need to use ourselves.
Yeah, I want to go back to something though that you said. You kind of mentioned it, and we moved past it real fast. But did you use the term blood bikes?
Yeah, so we've been a big supporter of the blood bike service. So these are guys that are and ladies that they're like volunteer to deliver urgent blood, medical supplies. There's blood bike services around the world. Here in the UK, we work very closely with a lot of them. They're basically a charity of volunteers that will go out, and it's often a lot quicker for a blood biker to turn up, grab some medical supplies. I mean, they've all got all the and get it to the hospital day and night. And they do a phenomenal piece of work. So they use our service. And we actually developed our service purely to help with those guys in terms of I don't need to record the journey from hospital to hospital. And it was also about how do we make sure that we're not burdening with too. The more route data that you collect, the more power that it's going to use. Like any sat nav system is, that's just the science behind it. But with the SOS standalone service, they could just pop the pocket put the phone in the pocket and just be protected. Yeah. So the Blood Bike, Peter Davis and the team down in Australia, we've been working with those guys now for about 3 or 4 years, supporting them where they go, and it's an amazing. It's expanding. It's expanding around the world, and they do a great job. They're fantastic, but it is a charity, and they need donations and support. But yeah, I was asked to do it when I passed all my advance, but I just wouldn't have the time. Which is a shame because it's a worthwhile thing, but.
Yeah. As far as I know, there's nothing in the US like that. So I'm kind of fascinated that, I mean, it makes, like you said, it makes more sense. I mean, bikes are just naturally more maneuverable and you can get to where you're going faster. And, that's pretty cool. I at least I had never heard of that before. There might be something in the US that is that, but I've never heard of anything like that. So that's why I had to ask. That's super cool. So, so let's talk about your motorcycle experience a little bit. I mean, you're obviously blessed to be in a beautiful place to ride, on the weekends or after work or whatever. Have you done a lot of touring on bike around Europe?
I mean, so yes, I'll come back to the Europe because I managed a European trip last year. But like when I passed my test, and I got onto the RS, so the 1200 that I got in 2016, I stupidly agreed to ride from Land's End to John O'Groats for charity with a couple of guys. I was like, yeah, I could do that. It's a 760 odd mile or wherever it was trip.
Yeah.
They were waiting for me to ask the question. Yeah. So what do we do? Do we get a van to take the bikes down? They were like, no, we ride down. And then and the penny dropped. You mean we're doing it twice? Yeah. So I kind of really threw myself in the intro. I've talked to my son about this because I'd done my advanced. I got it first in my IM as well, which everybody was astounded. Hang on a minute, you haven't been right? Yeah, but I had the knowledge, so I knew what I was doing. I just
just putting the theory into practice. Yeah,
exactly. So I threw myself at the deep end. I went, yeah, go on then, I'll do that. And I rode all the way up, and it was a killer because my thighs were stinging by the time I got to Inverness. Incredible. Once we've got in this, people go, oh yeah, well you get to Scotland and you're nearly there. No. Have you seen the size of Scotland? It's like it's a seriously big country. And I remember my instructor had all been saying about cornering. It's one of those things, corner when it happens and when you do it, everything just fits into place. And because cornering for me was always the one where I was just overthinking it all the time. I was like,
oh, sure.
Right, I need to do that. I need to do this. No. And by the time I got out the corner, I was rigid and, So we just left Inverness. We were going across, it's called the Black Isle. And then they go up the East Coast and there's hairpins and it was late in the day and the sun was starting. Oh, it was beautiful. And I think by that point, I was so relaxed, right? And I'd kind of really got to know the bike. And I remember going around this corner, Mark, honestly, I was like, and everything flowed perfectly. And I remember going, whoa,
all the gears, just meshed.
How did I do that? And it was like, that was the pivotal moment for me of, okay, I think I know what I'm doing now in terms of cornering. And it was brilliant. We managed to get to, we set off, it was like stupid o'clock in the morning, and we got there at about 10:30 at night. Okay. So it was still light. It was in June. It was the summer solstice that we did it.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I don't know why, naively, I thought we'd have a fanfare and fireworks and things and red carpet. And we got there, and there was a little old lady stood there. She was next to the car, and she was like, have you seen me son? And I was like, no. Oh, he's on a push bike. Oh, right, where's he come from? Oh, from Land's End. I was like, right, no, I haven't seen him. But I just remember getting there and having that feeling of, I can't believe we've done this. But where's our party?
Yeah, where's the pints? Where's the party? Where's the fanfare? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
We had a few pints later. But I think what was for me, I think that was one of the biggest personal challenges that I did, and it was one of those things where we actually raised a lot of money for the Northumbria blood bikes at the time,
Mm-hmm.
And we managed to raise some money and stuff, and it was really important to be able to do that. But it was great. I loved it. I mean, it was tiring. But the Saturday, we got up, we had some breakfast, and we didn't really need to get back early. So we said, right, why don't we go across to the west? Why don't we go and have some fun? So we went and did Loch Ness, went all around Loch Ness,
Oh, cool.
went over to Fort William, the bottom of Ben Nevis, refueled, and then it was like, we're doing Glencoe. I don't know whether you've ever heard of Glencoe, but it's like unbelievable mountain range, right? But I remember the day. Do you remember the Lord of the Rings? The film Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So all we could see is all the mountains, right, lit up where Glasgow was, and behind these mountains, it was as black as Mordor. You know what I mean? And it was like, we are going to get so wet. I remember getting down to Loch Lomond, where it's twist after twist. It was raining, and I was like, I've had enough of bends. Can I just please have a straight road? You know, it was, we are absolutely soaking. I was okay. The only bit of me that was dry was the back of my legs. And we went down into this underpass because we just saw all the headlights and stuff. Sorry, the brake lights.
Oh, sure.
And I managed to go in, and what I didn't realize, it was very deep, the water.
Oh, sure.
And my boots went in.
Oh, geez.
And all the water sprayed behind and covered us. So at that point, I was like, right, I'm completely wet through.
These are 100% covered.
I didn't care though. I didn't really care at that point. No, I was like, well, I'm not going to get any wetter than I am, you know.
That's true. Yeah.
And I remember, I forget about this trip. And I remember getting onto the A66 from the lakes to get home. And it's a dead straight road, big motorway. And I just wanted to get home. And I remember the last call I'd made is that I'd like a double Jack Daniels and Coke and a hot bath waiting for me when I get home. And I pulled onto the drive, and my two sons, my wife at the time, had to get the gear off me because I was that wet.
Yeah, just so soaked.
I remember laying in the mask with this Jack Daniels and Coke, thinking, "Wow, I'm not doing that ever again." Oh,
well, so to kind of wrap it all up, I mean, you've been riding for a while. You've put the miles in for sure, and have taken some trips and even went down. What, after all this time, all these miles, you know, what makes motorcycles still so special for you?
Do you know, I've made probably some of the lifelong friends, and I'm going to give a shout out. So there's Martin, there's Andy, these are neighbours, and there's Scott, who's about to be our neighbour from the RAF, and my son, and there's loads of lads that are guys that I've kind of met and enjoyed motorcycling from being around people who enjoy motorcycling, and when you're riding in the rain and you're having those kind of experiences together and the thrill. I mean, we chat because we have the comms, we chat, and you know, the things that you laugh about, you know, it's just fantastic. And you just wonder how else I could have that much fun, you know, and those experiences. Yeah. And I didn't probably fully appreciate the motorcycle community until I became part of that motorcycle community. I mean, I was with what we were doing, but when you're out there putting the miles in and having those experiences, and you know, I just love spending time with them, and anybody you meet, everybody gets it, you know.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
We're doing the ABR festival, the Adventure Bike Festival, this year, and we're going and we're exhibiting, and I can't wait. I've not done an event for years, so we're going to go and do that. We're doing Auburn in a couple of weeks' time around Scotland, and then we're doing Wales again, beginning of June, which we tend to do every year. We hire this barn, converted barn, and we'll do like 250 miles an hour. 250 miles a day. Slight slip there. Don't want to go that fast. And we'll go and do Snowdonia. We'll do Aberystwyth. We'll do some of the amazing parts of Wales. And it's a week's trip that it's just beer, bikes, and banter. You know, which we talk about over here, and I love it. I wouldn't not do it now, because someone said to me, he says, "Well, you had your crash, and did it put you off?" No. Next time I won't go out in the afternoon when I'm feeling tired, you know. But you have to learn from that. You have to take that on board and go, well, okay, you know, what could I have done better? Well, I could have been in a better position, and then, you know, and seen them, and then, you know. But these things are sent to try you, as it were. But I just absolutely love it. I love riding the bike. I love I love everything about it, really. And I hope to continue to do it for as long as I can, really.
Amen.
And I hope everybody else, that if they're not riding, get a motorcycle and become part of it, because I don't think you'll look back.
Yeah.
Unless you're looking back to see where your son is, because you've left him for dust.
Right. Yeah. And while you're at it, download the Real Rider app. Tell us where we can learn more about Real Rider, where we can get it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I don't want to do any more plugging for the app, but that's a great segue there. No, so obviously you've got website realrider.com, and there's a lot of information in there, a lot of kind of the frequent asked questions. One of the key things is we don't record speed. People, worry about apps that record speed. So it's never been about the speed for us, never been about performance.
Sure.
We're very, very protective of people's data as well. So there's a lot of privacy elements in there. You can only, so if you record and upload routes, there's no kind of explore where you can see where people live. You've got to friend people within the app. So again, that protects the data. So the Real Rider website, realrider.com, is one of the best places to start. Our socials, we're on Instagram, Real Rider UK, TikTok, which is where you see our exploits, and our YouTube channel, where we're starting to upload a lot more content from our journeys as well. And if you want to, reach out to us on the socials, if anyone's got any questions, we do, come back pretty quickly. And just embrace it. If it's one of those things that you want to feel safe, particularly if you're going on longer trips on your own, then, give us a try. If you've got any questions, then reach out.
Cool. Well, I love it. Andrew, thank you so much for being here, and can't wait to talk to you again soon.
Thanks. Really appreciate it, Mark. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to Driven to Ride. Interact with us and check out full unedited conversations, photos, interviews, video interviews, plus other goodies on YouTube or Instagram at Driven to Ride Podcast. Or you can check us out at driventoridepodcast.com. And make sure you leave us a rating and review from wherever you get your podcasts too. If you have an idea for an episode or a guest, or you want to invite us out on an adventure, email us hello@driventoridepodcast.com. Driven to Ride is wholly owned by Flint Rock LLC, made possible with help from Matthew Miles, and written, hosted, and produced by me, Mark Long. We'll see you out there.